Into the mind of Dan and Dave, into the mind of Dan and Dave, into the mind of Dan and Dave, into the mind of... Here we go to the mind of Dan and Dave, into the mind of Dan and Dave, into the mind of... Here we go to the mind of Dan and Dave, into the mind of Dan and Dave, into the mind...
Okay. So what now?
All right, so we're talking about
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Curb Your Enthusiasm with Larry David. Now you're telling me. Now I've watched I've watched this show and I love it. It's great. Not only because it's a cool show,
It's very funny.
and you know I've avoided watching the show because I didn't think it would be that good.
You avoided it for years.
I did, but I had
a couple
to
of years ago you started watching it, right? A couple of years ago you first watched it, right?
Yeah, actually, yeah. And I thought it was great because, I mean, Larry David, I think, is brilliant after watching that. Mm-hmm. And but I still cannot wrap my mind around what you were telling me. Because you said, all right, it's Larry David.
Yeah.
The guy from the writer? Is he a producer?
He was
Probably
a
as well. Writer, producer, whatever.
Co-created Seinfeld.
From Seinfeld, right.
Yeah.
And I started watching the show, and I'm like, okay, I can see it because people have, you and other people have said that basically Larry David is George Costanza, basically. Like, George Costanza is a reflection of
he's
David.
kind of a mixture of like Larry David and some parts of Seinfeld, I believe.
Jerry, you mean?
Jerry himself. Like, maybe not. Mm-hmm. He's more Larry David than anybody.
Mm-hmm. But anyways, you were telling me that, because after... years maybe after Seinfeld went off the air, the Curb Your Enthusiasm began, right? So I sat and I heard about it, and I was like, because for some reason, I don't know, the way I am, somebody looks wrong to me, I'm not going to watch it, stuff like that. So, but I forgot, Steve Bush got me into it.
Oh, okay.
I was over his house, and he put it on, and it was brilliant. It was awesome. It was, the way... because I love sarcasm, I love it.
Yeah.
And just the way they did everything was so, like, again, a fly on the wall. I love that fly on the wall thing.
Yeah.
Which basically it was like a fly on the wall, just watching somebody's life.
Yeah.
And not only somebody's life, but somebody like Larry David.
Yeah.
Which cracked me up because he was like paranoid, neurotic, everything. But then again, very confident in who he is, which is like such a oxymoron kind of thing.
A neurotic, but doesn't back down from his
right. He was basically the things that I saw him in. He's basically like, you know what, and it was great.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I asked you.
Yeah.
Like, is this like, like I said, other people have told me like he's basically George Costanza. So I figured if I watched this show, I'd be watching George.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
But you got something different.
I did get something different. I mean, I watched it, and it was still funny. It was very funny.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure what I was watching. Was I watching... Because it's almost like documentary.
Yeah.
The camera work.
Right. And they're going for that.
Huh?
They're obviously going for that.
Right. So I sit there watching this, and I'm like, okay, this is funny, and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
And but I'm like wondering. I'm like... I think I asked you one time, is that his real agent? The guy, the big guy that's in there?
Yeah.
I was like, is that his real agent? And you're like, I think you told me, you're like, no. I'm like, well, I thought this was like a literal like documentary kind of thing.
All right. Here's the thing is that I don't know who his real agent is. On the show, his agent's name is Jeff. The actor that plays him, his name is Jeff. So I think that can add to the kind of confusion.
Well, not only that, but I've seen this guy in.
Yeah, and since then I've seen him other stuff. I don't recall seeing his stuff before.
Like he was in
Arrested Development.
He was in Daddy Daycare with Eddie
Was
Murphy,
he?
and that's where I recognized him from. I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
But there are guys like that do stuff. Like the guy that directs Iron Man.
Jon Favreau.
Yeah, he's an actor.
He started out as an actor.
Stuff.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a surprise to me that he could be an agent because he's whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he started out as an actor too.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So the real question on your mind, the thing that you're having, that you're trying to make
Wrap my mind around.
Wrap your mind around. Yeah.
I have no problem saying that.
Okay. Good, because that's kind of the point of this whole conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. So. All right. So what's going on?
You can laugh some more. Go ahead.
All right. What's going on here is, okay, in real life, Larry David, the person, the real person, Larry David, co-created, co-wrote, produced, whatever, the
Seinfeld.
real show Seinfeld in real life.
Mm-hmm.
This all came up because we were talking about Seinfeld,
Right.
and
My
Dave
very,
was like,
my very favorite show.
Yep, yeah, it's a great show. I have a hard time finding a show that I like more too. So
Besides Arrested Development. That's
yeah, it's
Go ahead,
hard,
go ahead,
man.
go
They're
ahead,
both
go
so
ahead.
good. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So he's saying it would be really great if they did a reunion, and he's like, yeah, maybe not though. And then just before we even got to finish that, I'm like, did you see the season of Curb Your Enthusiasm where they did a Seinfeld reunion?
Mm-hmm.
Only and I don't want to ruin it for anybody. I don't think this would. They never actually show the reunion episode, but the whole season is about putting together the reunion and then finally airing it and everything, which only happens in the reality of the show, but not in real reality.
And
So
is anybody else out there lost?
this is where it falls apart for Dave.
And for everybody else.
So what happens here? In real life, the reunion for us was the fact that they were all on, that Jerry, George, Elaine, and Kramer playing themselves as Jerry Seinfeld, Julie Louis-Dreyfus, Jason Alexander, and Michael Richards were playing themselves on Curb Your Enthusiasm as characters who were themselves making a Seinfeld reunion episode, which we never really get to see. Now, what happens here is that in the reality of that show, there was a Seinfeld reunion episode. In real life, our real life, there was no Seinfeld reunion episode. Never happened. But in our reality, there was the reunion of them all being on Curb Your Enthusiasm together. But they were only playing themselves as actors, not really playing the characters. Though in the show, you do see them playing the characters.
Is anybody else mind spinning right now? Because I'm not getting it.
So I tried to go back to the beginning of Curb Your Enthusiasm. I'm like, look, here's what happened. This is what I'm going to try again, because
right,
so far
good.
my attempts at explaining this have failed. Okay, so back in the day, Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld and all these guys made this show. Now, years later, Larry David, who still did these things in his life, created a show called Curb Your Enthusiasm, where
Go ahead and laugh at me. It's okay.
where he plays himself going forward from what was it, about 2001, 2002, whenever the show started.
Right, and I get this part.
Right.
Okay?
Now
it's from here beyond that you're.
right. So on the show, he engages in fictional scenarios about his fictional life. All right. So the things that happen on the show are not the things that happen in his real life. In real life, he's acting and writing on the show Curb Your Enthusiasm. In Curb Your Enthusiasm, he is doing Larry David stuff, going around getting in arguments with people and things like that. And the characters in the show, there are people like Richard Lewis, who plays himself,
Right.
who plays like one of Larry's best friends.
Mm-hmm. In real life or in his?
In Curb Your Enthusiasm, he is playing Richard Lewis, who is Larry David's good friend. I don't really know if they're really good friends in real life or not.
Well, you just said. See, this is the thing. You said this is Larry David's real life.
It's presented as Larry David's real life.
But then again, Larry David has this other life
it is not
in the show.
But
you said this is Larry David after Seinfeld, and then sometimes he goes off and does this other life. This is where you, go ahead.
It is not his. It's not a reality show.
You said it was.
I said it was not a reality show.
You said it was reality, but
no, it is not reality. But it is meant to appear as reality. So here's the way they do the episodes. They come up with various scenarios. They know how they want it to wrap up and everything. It is unscripted, though. And so all the actors in there just know what's supposed to happen. They know the outcome of each scene. Like, this is where we need to be by the end of the scene.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Larry's going to come in, and he's going to do something obnoxious or whatever. I'm going to be mad about it, and then this is how I'm going to feel by the end of it about it. So I've got to ad-lib to get to that point with Larry and have these arguments or whatever. I mean, really, half the show is arguing.
That's pretty brilliant, actually, but...
Yeah. So... So the things that are going on in the episodes, while they are meant to appear as if this is Larry's day-to-day life,
right, are
fictional. They are fictional scenarios.
All right, so what's the other half?
What do you mean, what's the other half?
You said he was doing... This is how you presented it to me. There was two different things.
All right, so in the last season that I saw, which was not the most recent season, I don't believe, they were doing a Seinfeld reunion. Is this where you're confused?
Yes.
Okay. So... the character Larry David,
right,
contacts,
which is Larry David,
right?
There is no character.
He is a character on the show, though.
Larry David.
He plays real life Larry David
plays Larry David.
Plays the character Larry David, who I don't know the real Larry David, so I don't know how similar he is to the real life Larry David. But the character Larry David contacts the character Jerry Seinfeld, the character Julie Louis-Dreyfus, the character Jason Alexander, and the character Michael Richards to put on a Seinfeld reunion show, which they write and produce and everything on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm.
So in this fictional Curb Your Enthusiasm world, they created and aired this Seinfeld reunion episode, a 30-minute, 22 minutes of TV.
That never aired.
That never actually aired in our lives, in our real lives.
Mm-hmm.
So what we got to see instead was how it was made by watching Curb Your Enthusiasm. But they did not actually make the episode.
So Jerry Seinfeld was not Jerry Seinfeld.
Right. He was playing...
in the show. He was playing himself.
He was playing himself, and not the same version of him. This is the... here's what it is. This is... Earlier, before this, I was like, dude, this isn't the first time a show has done this where somebody plays himself. And I don't know why it didn't occur to me to be like, look at Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld is playing Jerry Seinfeld. He is a comedian, which he was in real life. But then from the point where he's in the show... forward, these are now fictional events that are not his real life anymore. But he is playing them as if they are his real life. Elaine and Kramer and George, they're not his real friends. They're his friends on the show. So this is further complicated by Larry David's wife and agent and
That's what
characters
I'm talking
like
about.
that.
I mean, I'm like...
So it's like they've taken the idea of a guy playing himself, and they took it a little step further by making it even closer to real life, because we have more that we can relate to now because we know Larry David made the show Seinfeld. Whereas Jerry Seinfeld was only known as a stand-up comedian before, and really not that well known before the show came on. So, and while we didn't really know much about Larry David before Curb Your Enthusiasm came on, any of us who knew Seinfeld did know that he was involved in that show.
Yeah.
And so him showing up as this kind of high-profile person out there in, Hollywood or whatever made sense. Is this... Are you there yet?
My apologies. I'm sort of there, and I get it now. It's going to come all together.
Well, okay, let me ask you this. On the show Seinfeld,
Yes.
do you understand that Jerry Seinfeld on the show Seinfeld is not the real Jerry Seinfeld?
Right. He's portrayal of himself.
Right.
I get that.
So that's exactly what Larry David's doing on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Well, the way...
And I don't know why it didn't occur to me to just explain it that way in the first place. I guess I got a little too meta.
Well, it has nothing to do with your explanation. It's just the way I look at it. The way they... the way they...
well, they portray it as more reality than Seinfeld.
The way they because they do the documentary style camera work and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, obviously this is not... I knew obviously this is not real.
I know that you knew it wasn't
but
real.
I'm like still wondering because like what is he doing? It's like I know it's Larry David, but is he playing Larry David or is he playing? You know what I mean? That sort of thing, and it's all coming together now, but still,
Yeah.
Because it's well, I'm sorry. It's I don't want to say extreme because that's a very pointed word or a very extreme word to use, but because it's Larry David with his wife, his agent, and all that kind of stuff. Was basically around his life.
Right. Who are all actors playing his wife and
Right.
agent. And, yeah.
Right. And
Ted Danson shows up playing himself.
And the same thing, and now I see it with, but I guess I took it differently with Jerry, because it was more or less like a show.
Yeah.
When
it was always presented to you as a show.
Where Curb Your Enthusiasm seems more like a behind the scenes kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, what the hell's going on here? And it's great. I love Larry David. I love his obnoxious, paranoid. He's got so many things going on behind him, and it's great.
Yeah.
So I was just,
all right, but you're good.
But when we first started talking about this, I was totally lost. I was.
Yeah.
Which is why you had to bring me down here and embarrass me.
You agreed to it. I thought it was fine.
I'm fine. You can embarrass me. I'm okay.
All right. I don't feel like you should be embarrassed, but
I remember asking you or somebody a long time ago. I'm like, because I refused to watch this for some reason. I didn't like Larry David. I don't know why.
Well,
I don't know why, and I think he's great now.
Yeah.
But back then I didn't like him. And when that show came out, I refused to watch it. Like other shows, I refused to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And watched that, I'm like, what the? But it started, like I said, Steve got me into it.
Yeah.
And I was hooked as soon as that.
I'm glad he did.
Give me some more.
Yep. This is again another example of something I told you I thought you should watch, and you know.
Usually when you recommend something, I do watch it.
All right. I will say I'm more likely to check something out coming from you than a lot of people.
If it's British, a British recommendation, I'll watch it. But usually...
Yeah. You've been pretty pro-British lately, though, so...
I like the British stuff. It's hilarious to me.
Yeah. I've been into it a lot right now. It's just
people
the sort of humor I need right now.
People get mad at me and they're like... Because I've told people, like, some of the British stuff is the most hilarious. They're like, what, you're against all the American stuff? I'm like, give me a break.
That was me. I did that
it
to you.
It wasn't you.
I'm like, oh, American comedy's not good enough for you anymore? I didn't. Okay.
Oh, was that you? No.
We had a conversation like that.
No, it was somebody else. They're like, give me a...
You were saying that the
No, I said British humor is better than American.
That's right.
That's what I said.
You made like a sweeping statement, like all British comedy is better than American comedy.
That's right. I stand by that, by the way.
Do you?
I'm kidding.
Because I'll go into my reasons why you were wrong again.
No, but for some reason, I'm turned on to like some British.
Well, because we're getting the cream of the crop, and it is great stuff. It's like, man, if somebody could go through and filter out all the crap in American TV and just show me the very best stuff.
But I just remember growing. I mean, my mother's from Ireland, and I used to just grow up listening to her talk. Just her talk in general cracked me up. Because she would say stuff, and when she was pissed off, just the way she said it cracked me up. Like arse. The first time I ever heard arse was from my mom. It's like, you're an arse. What the hell is an arse? And stuff like that. And when she got really pissed off, that Irish accent would come out, and it was awesome. I loved it.
So you just try to make her angry all the time.
Exactly. You're an arse.
Thank you.
But I just...
yeah. All right, well, so this has been the Dan and Dave Mindset. My name's Dan.
I'm Dave. Peace.